So we're back on the S.L.I.D.E podcast today, and I am joined with Coach Allie, ma'am. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. How are you doing?
I am doing great. It is a cold, rainy day in South Carolina, so
It is.
today is the day to go get in the bed under the covers, but got things to do, so I can't do that. So, and then I'm also joined with Coach Jenn. How are you, ma'am?
I'm doing really good. Right in the middle of my work day, ready to get talking about some baseball.
I am too. I'm in the middle of my workday too. So, but today we're joined with Darius Kendrick and Mr. Oh my God, Brice. I'm sorry, I sort of messed that one up. We'll scrap that one. And Carl Brice and Darius Kendrick. How are you guys doing?
I'm going good. Can't
Good.
complain.
Good. So for our listeners out there today, if this is the first time you've listened to our show, we're focused on youth baseball. So that means players, coaches, and parents. We want to make sure that we add positive recognition out to the world, but also give coaches and parents and players a little bit of knowledge and understanding of how to improve themselves as a better parent for your baseball players, for a coach, how you coach your players better, and as a player, hey, here's the things that you need to do to focus on being a better person and a baseball player. So, and the two guests that we have on today, that's their focus, and then these guys focus on player development. So, Carl, Darius, I'll let you start us off, man. Tell us a little bit about you guys.
I'm Darius. I played at Vicksburg High School, Holmes Community College, Jefferson Davis Community College, Louisiana College. Played a few years of indie ball. Me and Carl been friends about 12 years, I think. And, we kind of fell off into the lessons probably right in the middle of our pro ball career. And I was just carried away into a career for us and being able to give back and teach the game that we played, half our life.
Yeah, gotcha. Carl?
Hey, I'm Carl Brice. I'm from Jackson, Mississippi. Graduated from Callaway High School. Ended up signing to Hines Community College for both football and baseball. But I chose football. I chose baseball my sophomore year and transferred to Holmes Community College.
Okay.
And I went to Grace University in Omaha, Nebraska, which is no longer existing now.
Really?
But
Sounds like there's a story there
it kind of is.
for another time, maybe.
Yeah, man, yeah.
He put them out. It sounded like he put them out. He went and he shut them down.
Nah, I ain't do nothing, but I played 7 seasons in Indy Ball, Region, the Atlantic League, and American Association. Basically, I've been all over, so
Okay.
I see what needs to be done. And this is actually my first full year of coaching travel ball, and
Okay.
it's kind of been overwhelming with the parents and everything. So,
I can imagine.
He still throws 96 miles an hour.
96.
Okay.
You
Yeah.
still throwing 96? Wow.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
So we had this bet on the show is how fast that I really can throw, or actually no, I know how fast I can throw, how fast I can catch. So I've called up to an 84 so far, but I'm working my way up to a couple pitchers that's going to test me and hit those 90s. So
Yeah.
I might get knocked out. I might get knocked out or hurt or a bruise or two, but you know what? It's all for fun. So, but all right, here's one of the things I heard from you. So Jackson, Mississippi. I'm a football fan, so we'll talk about this at the end of the show. But Jackson, Mississippi's that's a special place right now, or has been for the last few years with Dion. So
Yes,
but
sir.
we'll put that towards the back end of the conversation. So you guys are coaching travel ball now. How did that start?
We started giving lessons just locally,
Uh-huh.
and then a couple parents reached out for us to coach their kid pretty much. And so this is my first organization. My first year I was independent, just really low level travel ball. Took 2 or 3 of those kids, brought them to the nights with me. I called Carl. So I have 2 13-year-old teams. He has an 8-year-old team and a 13-year-old team. And so now the levels kind of jumped. My 2 teams are at a really high level. So,
And my AU, they can, if they play like they're supposed to play, they can play triple A ball.
Now, in your
Wow.
Is your 8U, are you still at coach's pitch at 8U, or are you guys doing kid
Yes,
pitch?
I am.
Okay,
I am.
okay.
But we're getting ready for kid pitch because we're going
Right.
to the World Series in Panama in June.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Which tournament are you guys going to in Panama?
Grand Slam. I can't remember the name, but it's
Okay.
the World Series.
Gotcha.
Uh-huh.
That's pretty awesome. So, which one's harder to coach, the 13Us or that 8U?
13s.
Mine are pretty, well, we're pretty good. And now it's like a lot of the parents, they're starting to understand now that you're playing at the highest level that you can play at 13. And little Johnny's one mistake can cost everybody. And
Yeah.
so instead of being good job all the time, you know, for me, like when I would leave, we never hit the positive. My dad didn't care for the positive. If you went 2 for 3 with a strikeout, he expects you to hit 2 doubles or whatever. And we talk about the strikeout. So a lot of times, you know, they kind of overlook their own kid. And I tell them all the time, if you would pay attention to your son and his development, you wouldn't have to worry about who's doing bad.
Right.
I mean, it'd make it so much better, because the problem is they go home and they say something in front of their kid about another kid, and it divides the team even more. And you got parents
Absolutely.
bad mouthing
Yeah.
kids. That's not okay.
So where do you feel like you can kind of make that delineation? Because I'm coaching 6U right now, but as my daughter gets older and you know, I'm going to have to progressively be a little bit harder on them and a little bit more clear with the parents. Now, the parents that know me already know how I am and what I expect, but still they're 5 and 6 years old. So we're more focused on having fun, getting the fundamentals down. But I've also I had a meeting at the beginning of the year with the parents just kind of saying like, you know, you can't be screaming from the stands. You can't be behind the dugout the whole time talking to your kid.
No,
But where do you see?
Jen's the commissioner as well. So she's
Yeah.
the commissioner.
Yeah. Look, I got stories. I have got stories. The first 2 months have been a little bit rough.
Yeah.
Mine, I'm stern. And like I said, I'm at a very high level, and you can't come in the dugout. They can't leave the dugout. You can't, you know, bring your water before the game, all that kind of stuff, because today I have 9 of my 13-year-olds trying out for their junior high team. And so our job is to prepare them for the next level. They're not going to do that at junior high. They're not going to do that at high school. Let's not do it now. I've had, you know, a few of them quit because they didn't like it. But when you progressively get better, my suggestion to you is coaching on that level of 5 and 6. Like you said, it has to be really fun. Make it really, really fun for the kid. But the hard truth is you're going to get rid of 2 or 3 every year. And most of it is going to be parent based. It's not hard to develop a 5-year-old to be able to play baseball at least at an 8, 9-year level, you know, and so I feel like the parents run it off more, because you tell Johnny how to do something, then dad tells him at night how to do it. We're just confusing the 6-year-old.
Yep.
Well, and I think
totally
there's
agree.
like what you even said about just the conversation at home. Kids are so aware, especially when they think that, you know, parents may be talking about them. My son is like, when he hears us talking about the baseball game, his ears perk. And so he's listening to everything. Like if there's a conversation about another parent, if there's a conversation about a kid, he is trying his best to understand who we are talking about. And so we have like stopped all of that conversation in the ride home. We have stopped most of that conversation. I mean, all of it around him, because what you said is correct. Like he starts to realize, and he starts to hear, you know, little Johnny starts to realize that, well, it's not me. I'm not the problem. It's the other kid. And I don't want my son ever looking at another kid before he looks at himself. Like you better have your house clean, and you better be perfect before you start criticizing and critiquing another kid on that team. And we'll never get there.
Same way with my 8-year-old.
Yeah. So what do you experience in 8-year-old? What's been your biggest challenge with an 8U team?
Some of everything. But my biggest problem has been parents not realizing rec ball is not like travel ball.
Right.
You can play your best 10, or you might can win with those 10 rec ball players that you have. But once you get the travel ball, a lot of these players have started playing travel ball at 6, and they're more developed than your child is because you've been playing rec ball, and you basically been playing daddy ball.
You can't.
Yeah.
Rick has to, for somebody who's never played or who's just starting, when we played rec ball and tournament ball. So you played rec, it was kind of different. Rec ball started in February February, March.
Yeah.
Tournament ball didn't start till May. So for us, it gave us those reps, that comfortability, getting back into the groove to be prepared for tournament ball.
Right.
So I feel like when you're doing rec, it should be fun and you should be learning the game.
Yep.
When you get the travel ball, a lot of the fun, it's fun to win. You know, like a lot of these people are at maybe a higher level. And so that's when the accountability really kicks in and you start understanding. And people just don't like the fact that everybody can't play shortstop.
Yeah.
Why is my son hitting 9? But in reality, you try to explain it to them. Well, my 2 fastest guys hit 1 and 9. If you go 0 for 5 on Saturday, you probably won't play on Sunday. At least you won't hit because we got to put our best 9 out there to give our team the best chance to win because these parents are playing to compete. And if, you know, everybody's not going to be good every day. And it's just a factor. And I tell my kids all the time, Mike Trout went 0 for 22. You know what I mean? You're not going to hit 1,000. It's not going to happen. Go in, compete, and try to scratch, you know, and that way it'll help the team. What's your role as a team player? Is it on the mound? Is it behind the plate? Is it hitting? Figure out your role and let's assess the team that way.
And that's the biggest part too, because parents don't understand roles at AU. And it's funny.
Yeah.
They don't.
Yes, I'm listening.
I was going to say they don't understand their role, or they don't understand the role of
They don't
each kid.
understand the role of the kids. Like
Gotcha.
some players are good at catching fly balls. So your son might be in the outfield. You might not want to play in the outfield, but he catches fly balls better than anybody on the team.
You gotta play the outfield.
He gotta play the outfield
to help the team.
win. That's all it's about.
We have 2 really good catchers that are 8 that I've had for about 8 months. And I'm telling you, they catch as 13-year-olds. And they can block and they can receive, but they can't catch in 8U because it's boring, you know, that so we can't even let them catch it, you know, so that way we put them in the field, give them the reps at second base or outfield. But we prepared them those lessons every week. He can go play 10U baseball right now and at least be able to catch and hold his own behind the plate. Hitting wise, who knows? But it's all about preparing those kids for the next level. Yeah, are they blocking right now? No. Does he need to work on back picks? No, but can he do it? Yeah. Like I even taught him how to throw from his knee. It's kind of cool because you don't see 8-year-olds do that.
No.
Being able to prepare them to do stuff at the next level.
Well, and I think that's, you know, parents are so focused on my kid, but, you know, they're paying a decent amount of money to put their kids in that program. And that program, because we get asked all the time, like, what age should my kid go to travel ball? And I don't know if there's an age, maybe you guys have an age you recommend, but to me, it's based on your coaches. Like, you don't go pay money.
That's the biggest.
You're paying for, like, if you ask me, I had 60 kids try out for my team last year. Is the Knights a great program? Oh yeah. Is there other really good programs? Oh yeah. But you're paying for the coach because how well is that coach going to develop my kid? How is he on the baseball field? Like that. But parents are so worried about all the other ins and outs. Like if I had a kid, he would go to travel ball if I thought he was ready. Like some kids aren't athletic.
Right.
Some kids don't grow into their body to a certain age. I'm not going to put my son in travel ball to fail. Right. At least he's going to compete. If he needs to play rec until 10, I get it. Because I know 13-year-olds will play baseball and figure it out by the time they get to high school. So it's not really a late start or early start. Just put them around the game, let them play rec. If your son's hitting 750, you know it's time to move on and
right.
do something different.
Well, and that's another thing too is, you know, kids get hard on themselves because when you go from rec ball to travel ball, that simple little roller that may have gotten you on the base, you know, in a rec ball situation, that's their job to get you out. And, you know, and I think that's where another shock comes for parents is, well, my kid's not playing as well. And so it must be my coaches. And the reality, it's not the coaches, it's your kids got to develop. And, you know, I see too many parents living vicariously through their kids and it puts them in such a bad situation. So, Allie, what do you think?
Excuse me there. I had to sneeze. I think you brought up a good point of
like there's a good reason to play rec and travel ball. And some kids get different things out of both, because we had some, I forgot who it was earlier on a different show this season, said that the rec kids are the kids you learn to play with because those are the kids you're going to play with in high school and your friends in the community. But then travel ball are the ones you're going to be seeing all over the country playing against in high school and college. And I just think that the mindset for travel ball is you're wanting to play on that high school varsity team. You're wanting to get that college scholarship. So there is a little bit different expectation, and some parents aren't necessarily ready for that.
Yeah.
And some are just super negative. Man, like, I'm a tough coach to play for. But if your son can do it, I tell people all the time, it's hard to coach as a dad, because now you have to find the fine line between being his dad and being his coach. I can ride your son, pick him up, let him go home, and then you can talk to him, you know, and kind of get a middle feel on how you should communicate with your kid after the baseball game, whether it's going to be positive or you're just going to be honest with them. I'm an honest person about baseball, and a lot of parents they don't like it, you know, to a certain extent, because it's never enough. Good job, good job, good job. But in reality, the world we live in, a lot of those parents are really, really nice, and it's really good. You know, they're not holding their kid to the level of accountability it should be on a travel ball stage. Now, if it was just rec and we're learning and we're having fun, and that's different, you know. But if you're trying to put your son at the highest level to go through the highest things, he's going to get with me the same thing he's going to get from the high school coach, except probably he's going to develop a little more, because when you get to the high school level, do they want to develop? Yes, but what's that coach's job? To win.
Win. That's right. Because his job depends on it.
Exactly.
So
But I
what
think
is
you
that
said something good.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, Jen. I was going to say, I think you said something good about like constructive criticism is also the kids don't always know how to take constructive criticism. So sometimes they do see that as negativity when it's not necessarily negative out of a coach's mouth. And then I find sometimes with kids that I coach or have in the past, that little game of telephone of, hey, coach told me to work on this. And then they tell their parents something. Now the parents coming back at you for something that's different than what you said.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely. Now, do you guys focus your communication for 8s and 13s? I've seen this throughout some teams. Do you focus your communication through the parents, or do you rely on communication through the kids and hope that they can explain it to the parents?
When we usually practice the 8s and 13s together. Like you said, they're at a high level sometimes, and we let them the 13s are really just getting a look on how it's going to work. Because he's really hard on his 8-year-olds, and they're pretty good. But for me, I have to go through the 13-year-olds. Like, we have a group meeting for the parents, but I make sure I tell them what we're wearing, practice, all that stuff, because when they get to the high school level, the coaches are going to call the parents. If they forget something, they won't play. You know what I mean? Like,
I like that.
I got a group message with my 13-year-olds too. And I also have a group chat with the captains of the team. So I have 5 captains on that team. So it's their job to decide what uniform we're gonna wear, what level they want to play at on that weekend, depending on how they feel. Tell their parents what they have to wear and all of that. So they get to choose everything for right now. I'm for the boys, but once you start messing back up, I'm tightening the chain back up.
Dude, I love it, because that teaches a kid responsibility. Like,
exactly.
And what you said around being, soft parents and such, this world ain't gonna take it easy on your kids. And you better get them ready, because the world don't really care one way or another. And if these kids aren't ready.
A lot, and when I tell them, it's so much bigger than baseball. You see that in all my posts. I'll hashtag it all the time, because how many kids aren't going to be that good? How many kids are going to be average? How many kids are going to get overlooked? But if we can teach a good work ethic out of your 13, 14, 15-year-old son and make him a good player or just a good person, it ain't gonna be that hard for him to get up and go to work, or maybe get up, go to work, go to the gym or whatever. So it's so much bigger than baseball. I'm not telling you if you play for me for 4 years, I'm gonna call Hines Community College and you'll get a scholarship. I'm telling you, you'll play at the highest level, and we'll help you develop, and we'll do the best we can to get you to that to get that opportunity. But the likelihood of my 2 13-year-olds, which is 22 kids, all going to college is really slim, just because it's baseball.
Well, and I think you also got to remember too, like you said, like, I mean, baseball is a hard sport to be successful in. I mean, the game is set up for you to fail in more times than not. And every kid's not going to be a professional baseball player, but I think where coaches get so lost, and where I see it with you guys, like where you're super dialed in, is it's about developing that person. And whether it means developing them in the outfield, you put them where they're going to be successful the most, and that builds their confidence. And like that's where parents should just, hey, look, your kid don't need to be at shortstop. I get that's where you want them to play, but outfield's important. Like let your kid learn a role in a team. And that's I think that's where a lot of it gets lost, is having role players on teams.
And I kind of use this example with my 13-year-old. A lot of them don't know that the right fielder in the outfield is usually one of the highest paid people in baseball. And they all thought it was like, coach, I thought it was center field. I'm like, no, because he has to hit for power, he has to be able to run, and he has to be able to throw people out.
Yep.
I saw it last year personally. I had a buddy of mine for the Knights 9-year-old team, major, probably top 100 team in the country. And it was 2 kids on it who were middle, maybe close to the end of the pack. They cried a lot. You know, they just, when you got onto them, and it just didn't take it well because they're growing and they're children. We moved them to a double A team, maybe triple A team, leading his team and batting average, really developed into a really good catcher, had a strong arm on the field. And so for him being 9 to a 10-year-old, now his confidence did this to this. And so now, like I told his parents, you can take him and put him back on the other team and he'll be just fine. Sometimes kids have to move to get the confidence back and be in a good role. Because if they go to that team and they're that guy, they're gonna, they're just gonna play better, they're gonna feel better. And that's the part of development that parents don't want. They don't want to be up here and have to move down here for 2 years, but not realizing that's gonna help their kid tremendously at the later date in that 2 year span.
Well, and they got to learn that it's okay to fail too. They have to learn how to bounce back from that. It's all about how you handle it, because there's going to be so many times in life when, things don't go your way, and you can't just hang your head up and walk off and say, well, I'm just the worst and I'm no good. Like, you have to be able to talk to yourself, because when you're in the batter's box, it's just you and the ball. So you have to be able to kind of psych yourself up and realize that you're going to do your best in that moment, and then whatever happens, happens. But you had to put the work in before to be able to get to that spot in the first place. Yeah. So being able to handle that failure is huge for just a person, developing them as a person.
Well, think about that first job interview they're going to get. Like, who's going to be in there with that job interview with them? Like, they got to be able to think on their own. They got to be able to maintain their confidence. But so let me tell you too, what I'm going through right now personally with my son. My son is 8 years old. We play rec ball, and he's still a cry. He gets upset. He is so hard on himself. And as much as I want as a dad to say, dude, chill the crying out, I tried it. It didn't work. But stop, it's okay. Let's focus on the next at bat. But the kid, he's okay. Most of his friends are going to be moving up into travel ball, but I don't see the love. I don't see the passion yet. And so I think he needs to stay another year or two in rec ball, because he needs to find his love before things get super hard and challenging. Because I think once he gets to travel ball, there ain't no room for none of that crying. There ain't no room for none of that stuff.
A lot of these 8-year-olds we have, I see, even the ones that I do for lessons, they drive 45 minutes twice a week for lessons. Outside of the other 2 days they come for practice, he's here 4 days a week. The kid don't want to do nothing but play baseball. He's not the most athletic. He's 8. But that's the difference in going from rec to travel. When you love it at that age, and that's all, you got to get ate up with it, no doubt.
Yep. Well, and that's what I'm told.
Being ate up with it'll take the athleticism part down a little bit, because, if I go and try to do basket weaving and I work at it 4 days a week, in 6 months I ain't gonna be that bad. Whatever basket weaving is.
Well, and that's what I told my wife. It's like, look, I know you think we need to move him to travel right now because all of his friends are going, but that's not the best thing for him, because he needs to work on his confidence, his love of the game before things do get, that different tone from rec to travel. So, but I
And
mean,
my child,
go ahead, Carl.
I see that a lot, especially with my older team. There's a lot of kids. I probably have like 6 or 7 that are in love with it, but the other 6, it's like your mama really dropping me off to babysit, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, no, because my passion for the game, you're not gonna ruin my passion for the game because you don't love it.
Right.
Because these other kids out here, they care, and now you out here playing around, and now they running all 6 fields outside. Because of you.
Yeah, it's definitely, it puts coaches in a bind because like when we played, parents didn't call the coach, I don't think. You know, they weren't calling the coach's balls if they had one and this and that. And if you're playing this amount of money to come here and get developed, and your son comes at 8 or 9 and he's crying, he's throwing stuff or whatever, my way of handling it may be different than Carl or anybody else's, but if that parent goes back and calls my boss and says, well, he lets Johnny play and he cries every time he gets out. And it just makes it so much harder. I've seen 4 really good coaches quit tournament ball because of that communication between parents, and I don't know. It's just 8. They're 8, they're 9, they're 10. They will not care what happened in this tournament this year when they're 15.
Nope.
Don't make it bigger than what it is, you know?
Nope. I mean, seriously, like, do you two remember a score of a tournament ball game when you guys played? You probably remember maybe celebrating afterwards. Yeah. Like, seriously, like, scores really don't matter. It's like putting these kids in.
I wish I paid more attention because I really don't remember my senior night.
Really?
You know, like, high school baseball was cool and it was fun, you know, in the moment, but like, because we were thankful enough to play at the next level, like, I knew I could hit, you know? Like, I mean,
yeah.
I remember like the pregame warm-ups, you know, but I don't really remember. It's not a big memory I can tell you from high school baseball because I wasn't the best or the worst, you know. I was just middle of the pack, I guess.
Yeah. What do you think the difference is for high school players today versus what you guys went through during those days?
Talent. These guys are prepping at 8, 9 years old. They're bigger than we were. They're fast. They go to somebody who played for a very long time to help them with their swing. And like these dudes hit 400, 500 and all these home runs. And I mean, the average baseball player when we went to college was about 87, 85 from the right side. These guys now, I got a kid who's a senior who just hit 94.
Dang.
And I'm like, that is correct. You know, like, so if you're 85 from the right side, you probably ain't going to nobody's school. You know, and that's just the fact of it because everybody's training, everybody's lifting weights and doing a lot more. The gym helped me. I fell in love with the gym, and I was a strong player.
I was just going to bring that up because, you know, when Aaron and I were kids, like it was taboo to lift weights because that was going to hurt your growth plates. Kids didn't lift weights, and now it's totally different. So I'm a physical therapist and I see athletes that are in the gym 4 days a week, and then they come to me for rehab. So, I mean, that's technically another day in the gym, and they practice 4 and 5 days a week. So yeah, I think the strength and the power behind these kids now is just like I didn't lift a weight until I was in 11th grade. I didn't touch the first weight until I was in 11th grade.
Yeah, even for our varsity team and JV team, I remember like now kids have, you know, it's mandatory for weightlifting and stuff, and it was not for us. And that's so now looking back on it, I'm like, the hell was my coaches thinking? But you know, it was just a different mind. Now, granted, I'm a little bit older. I'm 45, so it was 94, 95, 96. But still, I'm looking back and I'm thinking, what? Hell, I probably couldn't do a good push-up back then.
Yeah,
you know,
I know.
And I was, and I had a little power. What could I have done?
And they're training more in the right positions now.
Yeah,
they're learning how to move their body at the early age instead of how we learned.
We were pushing. We were maxing out every day. Like it was like it was wrong. You know what I mean? Like physically, it was wrong. It's now. I tell my kids like hitting. It's all about the movement of the body, how the body's going to move, you know, and so you got to put yourself in that right position. So now you got kids with arm care and bands and
Yeah.
And it's a lot more than what we were taught and what we did, and finding out, 5 years later that it was wrong. We had some
Yep.
dude who was a football string coach just throwing
Yeah.
3 plates on the rack for me to squat, and I can't move tomorrow.
It's true.
So
It's true.
Carl, you're the pitcher. Like how these kids starting to get this speed at such early ages? Is it just from just working out and their bodies developing earlier, or like how are we hitting 90? It's we had a kid on from Mississippi a few weeks ago, and what was it? Christopher Poole. You guys know Christopher Poole?
I heard that name.
Yeah, he's a 12-year-old. And I think Allie, he said he was throwing 84. He's doing some.
He looks fit too. Like he doesn't look like a 12, 13-year-old. These kids just look older, look stronger.
He probably one of those Delta.
Yeah, I mean,
He's like a grown-ass man.
Yeah,
But he was so humble. This kid was so nice. I can't wait for that episode.
Yeah.
Well, when you're so big, like I have a kid named Tristan Jameson, and I gave him a few pitching lessons last year. As a 12-year-old, he hit 81 miles an hour. But he looks me in the face, like he's 6'1". So when you're that big, yeah, you're going, and you are taught the right way on how to move the body, how to throw the ball. Yeah, you're going to get the max capacity out of your body when you're just that big.
Yeah. So basically, I'm gonna say I do a lesson with one of my 8-year-old pitchers. At first, he didn't know how to move his body, but now he played up the weekend before. He pitched in a 9-year-old championship game. He was throwing 53 to 54 as an 8-year-old because he learned how to use his body.
Wow.
So I was from September of 15. I was literally teaching him how to use his hips to throw. That's all I was thinking about. Use your lower body to throw. We'll get the upper body work later on. So I focus more on the lower body because it's more information out there now for people to understand. It's free information everywhere. Yeah. I'm on YouTube probably 2 hours a night watching pitching videos so I can find different ways to teach a different kid. Yeah. This one might not learn like this. This one might need to hear this verbiage. This one might need to do this. But hey, at the end of the day, it's still about using your lower body and your upper body. And a lot of these kids are big, stronger now, like that. He also takes speed and agility classes too. Mm-hmm. So that sets him out at the same time because now he's learning how to keep his feet under him while he's pitching. That's the most part I've seen. A lot of people are getting more stable, lower body wise. When we were growing up, it was just about, hey, let it go. Right back and let it go.
Yeah.
Don't care about what you got going on. Don't think about nothing. Just throw it to the world.
Yep. Well, and now you see, like, I feel like this surge of home runs that we're seeing in MLB, like, it's all just because we're learning, and this sounds silly, but we're learning how to use our body. Like, I grew up in the 80s and the 90s when we had the Bonds, and Canseco was my hero at the time. But, man, these guys just walked up with these huge biceps, and it wasn't so much about them using their body the right way as it was just swinging. And now you see the Mike Trouts, you watching, the Mookie Betts. I've watched some stuff. I'm like, they're using momentum in their body and how there's in that batter's box. And what's the best way to teach a kid that? Like, because using your hips as a hitter, like if you open up too soon, like how do you start with a hitter and learning how to be able to shift and move, control their body?
Man, usually I start from the ground up. Like at 9 years old, put your toes on line. That 28-inch bat ain't gonna reach that outside pitch probably.
Yep.
So if you start from the ground up, we want to get our feet flat.
Square
and
your toes.
I keep everything right here. Like a lot of people want this and all this, but this is gonna make little Johnny long because he's gonna go that way anyway. And so I get him right here and I just get him relaxed. I'm like, now take a deep breath. What's the strongest thing? When are you the strongest? When you breathe. Take a deep breath and relax. Now just load and go. And then after that, it depends on what the body's doing,
Okay.
A lot of the swings now, it's a lot of lift. Like we grew up in a triple zone era when people hit 350. When I got to college, DuPont said, if you don't hit 300, you're in the fall. You know what I mean? So he wasn't a home run guy. So if you just take the game, I think now and make it more about driving the baseball instead of hitting it out, they're going to hit better for average, and they'll probably still hit more home runs. It's just a bit of it. And you'll have less pop-up. But you have to give a base. I want to give somebody a stationary position to go to all the time, whether they're 10 or 13, and then we can work from there, and then you get into the complicated stuff or whatever. But you have to see what they're doing, and at that point, it's 1,000 ways to fix it, you know?
Yeah.
You just go from there. It all depends on how the body's working, I guess.
You know, with my pitching lesson, when I do lessons, I try to see what the kid can do naturally. I don't try to change up. That's just like what King Griffin Senior said about King Griffin Jr. When he first saw his swing, he didn't touch it.
Yeah.
He just adjusted it and made it natural. So I feel like the more natural you can keep a player, is the more you can get out of them.
Right. Because you're not having to reteach them.
I'm not reteaching anything.
Yeah.
I'm not forcing them to do anything that's against their will or their body at that moment.
Most of those kids understand, well, when you talk about a stationary position for baseball, most of them are learning if they can hit, you know, if they even can hit, or if they do hit, what's their hitting style. So if I get you here and get you relaxed in a year and a half or 6 months, and you get up here, you can still understand your hands working back this way and not this way.
Okay.
But if I try to
like
start
that.
out here, it's not a good base. It's not a good stationary position. When you get 2 strikes, what do? Spread out, choke
Yep.
on the bat. So if they get 2 strikes, you just spread out, get the barrel on your shoulder. At this point, you let your hands do whatever they want to do, you know. But if you try to teach it from up here or whatever, it's just going to be, it's a hard. If I start tight and relax, I might keep my hands close to my body. I'm not saying this is the best way to do it, but I think this is the most efficient way to get from here to there.
I agree. I like that. Well, because I'll tell you, the first thing that I hear parents say, and I want to choke them most time, is elbow up. And
Oh my God.
it's not the elbow. And I understand what they're trying to teach, but they don't understand it enough to. I mean, I understand what they're thinking.
It's literally here. Like, just pick your hands up. That's all you do.
Well, and they're not.
See a video of me hitting when I was still playing, and I'm like strong 220, and I see myself going, "Oh, I'm like, no." But not because this is wrong, but because most of these children or young adults or whatever, if you get this up, you're gonna crash.
Yeah.
So why not put them in a position to relax and let that go? Now, if you get guys who can do this and go there and stay flat, great. But the majority of people are gonna collapse and they're gonna hit the ball.
Well, and they don't have the back control to get look. I've been teaching, as you've been talking, dude. I am retraining myself. I swear. So I've been teaching my son. It's about his hands, but it's where he's putting his hands, and most of the time his hands are back. But I like that because when I want his hands in the knob of that bat to go right through the strike zone, that's the easiest place to take it, is from here to there and quick. So
most of the time, if you get them there, once you tell them to load, it's gonna be like this.
Yep.
Instead of being, you know, whatever, long and crazy. If I can get them there and get them relaxed, and you go and coach pitch, load and go, they're gonna go to that point. It won't be. It just creates more room for error when he's trying to do the cool Mike Trout or whatever. Get relaxed, get stationary, and we'll go from there. Now, like I said, in 10 years, you might be able to come up here and get your hands back. But right now, as an 8-year-old, stay relaxed, stay in the middle of your body and go.
I like it.
It really allows them to go back to the fundamentals at the end of the day. Like if they're struggling, because maybe they do get some strength, and, you know, especially 13-year-olds, right? I mean, I see it with my girls at 12. I have an 11-year-old who's 5'6", 140 pounds, throwing 70. And then I have a 12-year-old who's 5 foot and barely 100 pounds, you know? So the difference there, you have to coach to the different styles of the athlete. But at the end of the day, the basic fundamentals are there, which is going to help them succeed if they need that help. You know, like you said, 2 strikes, you shorten up, you go right back to that, because I get it with fast pitch and our girls, they get their hands up here, and then the first movement they want to twist, which doesn't help you at all. You get rested here, straight up and go, you know? So,
well, yeah. And
another basis for that, like I have a 13-year-old I've had for 3 years. He's led my team in hitting the past 2 years. What does he do? goes 8 for 10 in a weekend and starts making stuff up. You know what I mean? Because he's comfortable. Now he's like, I'm like, dude, don't do that. Relax. Go do what you're doing. Hit the ball over second, over short. That's your game. Don't try to do too much. So a lot of them get that confidence and then they start adding crazy stuff in. And now what do? We go back to the stationary position, you know, and it just helps them understand everybody's got a role. Like we were saying with the parents, you should know if you're 13 on a 60-90 field using a drop 5, you probably better stay in the middle.
Yeah.
You know?
Gotcha. Man, this is, I could keep on talking about this stuff. This is educational for me. So we don't claim to be the experts here. We only want to be able to help provide resources to everyone. So I hope everyone who's listened to this episode reaches out to these guys, gets involved, starts to realize like how you truly help each individual player on that team, and it's helped them understand their role in that team. So, all right, you two, who was your baseball star growing up? Which one of you two want to go first? Carl, who was you looking up to when you were growing up?
More of, I'm a Dodgers fan, so more like Eric Gagne, basically.
Okay. All
I
right.
like the whole world. Pedro. I like Pedro when I was
Of course. Who don't like Pedro? How you like the pitch clock?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Kind of, because you can kind of play to it. Like how Max Scherzer does with it. Like
Yeah, he does.
You can actually, it's like a piece in the chess game. That's all it is. That's all baseball is, the chess game.
It is. There's so many games inside the game. And that's what I'm trying to teach my kids is like, look, while you're doing your thing, there's other games going on this field. Like you got to understand each player's role and what they've got to do. So, all right, Kendrick, who was your star growing up?
I had two, David Wright and Mark McGuire.
Okay.
Probably because they played the infield and I was horrible at it. But
Yeah.
they did, you know, so I stuck to the outfield, but those are probably my two guys.
David Wright. I remember him. It was a Mets guy, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tall, skinny, he had a long lefty swing. But very cool. Well, guys, thank you so much for being on the show with us. Definitely would love to have you guys come back. If you've got some stars out there that you want to get on the show and, you know, have them come on and talk to us, we'd love to have it as well. So last question we ask every single guest that comes on the show, and this is usually the hardest question that we ask, is Kendrick, I'm going to start with you, Darius. You walking up to bat today, what's your walkout song?
Ooh. Probably going with the same one I always did. Take It Outside by Brantley Gilbert.
Okay. Country boy. I love some Brantley Gilbert. Hey, I had Brantley Gilbert talk at my wedding. I did. That's a good old country boy right there. All right, Carl, what about you?
Probably go with the Mississippi boy, Big Crit.
Okay.
Victorious.
All right.
Cool.
I've heard of him. All right. Well, awesome. How can we find you guys on social media, Facebook? How can our listeners look you guys up?
I have a baseball account. It's called DK's Development. It's on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all that good stuff. And
you said DK's Camp?
DK's Development.
DK's Development. Okay. Carl?
And I have, you can reach me at any social media, Coach Brice.
Coach Brice.
On Facebook, Coach Brice, Instagram at Coach Brice. And I don't have a Twitter for it right now.
All right. Well, look, you ain't missing nothing. I can't keep up with all this different stuff, dude. TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, man, I can't keep up with it all. So, all right. Well, this is the end of the show. Thank you guys very, very much for coming on, joining us. I know there's so much more. If you're listening out there and you want to hear more from these guys, let us know. Tell us what you want to hear, because we'd love to bring them back and get very specific into some training and some teaching. So thank you guys very much. Allie, we're going to end the show. So all of our listeners out there, follow us on social media at the slidepodcastshow.com, Slide Podcast Show, and all the other different little variations of Slide Pod, all this different stuff on social media. So, but thank you guys for listening. Until next time, Allie.
We'll catch you on the slide.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.